And again, I've done this before. Hey, trade plants every day. Again, plants, whether it be a plant, a saw, train yourself on the saw. That's a growing. Um, I mean, if anybody does watch this, I'd tell you to watch some of my marijuana. It's a fair resume. Now, I might have been doing it illegally, but my conceptual legal business principles solid. And more so than that, also botany. I'm pretty much on it. We're talking how to make feminize, how to make seed stock, how to root, how to do full-on artsy bonsais, how to do full-on string patterns that reference a grow system, how to clone that base. I can run consistently with a 18 by 18 grow box, just a couple of CFLs consistently all year round, and I can take that box and turn it into the biggest indie, densest, high grade on organics with this feeding regimen. I messed up. I've already made my improvements. I was kind of locked into my system of what I did. You have to do what you can do with the flush system. And I dialed in a lot of those numbers. It'll be a few years, but I'm not going to undersell it in terms of the information, at least at this point in time. I don't know who's listening. But if I'm sure I could get, honestly, to talk about the probation officer, all bullshit aside, I'm not growing right now, I'm staying straight and clean, but let's talk about it. Let's really get into the business economics, let's get into legal concepts, let's get into botany, let's get into physics, let's get into general relativity, let's get into psychology, let's get into military standards, let's get into government, whatever. I'm game. Let's do this. I got enough ammo, man. Rabbit. Get your ass on the farm, you gotta know that stuff before you can train somebody it. And again, it's great application. I don't know if they'd allow me to do that right now. They say a job's a job. I don't know if it'll fly like that if I go to some grower or distributor. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as I'm pissing clean, that's what that is. My system, I tell you, I'd be the first one. Hook up anywhere that's selling cleaner kits. I want to know everybody. If that references a name that goes to a file cabinet before it goes on to that ID, deny sale. But that's government law and kind of crazy. But I'd agree with it. It's what it is. It's the system. You can't go one over the billion unless that one has totally been constitutionally screwed. But we'll get into that concept another day. Legally, again, it's not just that. You can get into legal aspects about business quote, in terms of the order of the product and getting there at a fair time, and a company, payroll, insurance systems. They have some level of law into them, governing aspects. It's a war, it's a landscaper's design of a different field. Whether it be the ganj or whether you can get there through this quantum mechanics real easy. It's just, I don't have the Warshak card in front of me right now. We're not talking specifics. Special relativity right at the moment. We're dealing with, a special generalized version of relativity. Quantum mechanics, quantum physics, whatever you want to call it. Specifically, sometimes managerial skills is it. Sometimes the product that the manager has to put out in an event with a special. It's fucking weird. Gravity applies, and it is what you make it, specifically negative or positive in a conversation, as the laws of motion say, equal but opposite in direction. Those directions are a term that's very loosely set in mathematics. It's going to do something. You don't feed your plants correctly, it's going to divert in a specific spectrum of the Planck equation, more so than the light range, or the color of those light ranges, or the amperages on the saw for time systems, and whether you automate a system or whether you look at the system you have with people and consider that automated. You look at a tread line and you wouldn't consider that assembly, but yet it applies in a different dimension. The same aspects of assembling table legs, or working a assembly line to dry and cure, or knowing how to, when and where to switch out nutrients or take a break, or whatever that. It's consistency, it's knowing the calendar, time systems, the authority over that time system. When you see that on the application, you got to walk away. I can only have time to talk about gantry saws. I only have time. It's not going to work out right. It might be a great conversation, and I'm going to try my best to double tap, this is where that is, this is where, then we're going to get right back on this one. But it takes a real general to be able to handle the reins on something like that. I'm still a rook. That's the reality. I got a long way to go. I still got a lot of mason cars. I still got logging. I got landscaping. I could probably do better on carpentry. I could probably do better on construction. I probably could do better on plumbing and electrician. Stone, I probably got all but quarrying. Again, you just get too deep into the system. Every type of gantry saw, every type of CNC, every type of air pressured, hand cranking Amish version of a thing. You're starting from zero at some point in time, and every order of every cut of every design is XYZ to the degree, or X degree to the Z, parentheses, squaring, whatever. If I wanted to, I'd blow your mind. Not really practical to do that. I gotta push forward. It's easier just to think it and take time instead of worrying about what the boss is thinking and getting all up in their head. So I'm thinking about not quite hypnosis or telekinesis or telepathy. It's physics. I call them the generals. You hear that squeaky saw, that shit's gonna break. The boss is talking to me. OSHA's talking to me right now from over here. Because I know it's talking. It might be a whisper right now, but when that shit starts cranking and grinding, the cops legal. When you're standing there in the garden, it's about, if I'm not going to immediately stand here with a shotgun and defend it 24/7, I better have that law so well written about the process, about the fact, about documenting everything. The democracy that is a Republican aspect. I'm going to go to war with this system while documenting this variation, which in sense is a democracy, or excuse me, democracy and voting to a certain degree on what aspect is sensible to the social psychology of what's happening. And it's a dictatorship. I'm in charge of all of this. It might be different over there, but given this specific thing and who I'm doing it with, and I know the end results of a lot of this stuff, I got all day. I got all day. And it's hard when you have to do this and you know these skills and you have to step back because you walk into a log factory, board factory. You can't directly use it right out, but I can touch on some things. Obviously at some point in time that's all going to run on RPMs, on some level of XYZ. I get it. It makes it easier. It takes up less time. I'm not blowing this out. I'll shut the fuck up while the generals are talking to me. Look you dead square in the eye, process information, coded information into the mini Bitcoin or Hunter's Prize of a 5 megabytes into a 13 megabyte system. Or 13 into a 5 megabyte, because that's how this programming sensor, transisting resisting capacitor, and electrical engineering is supposed to design to handle. And if you start sending 80 volts through that thing because it's straight up to the fucking waterfall in a hurricane, well, you're gonna have a problem. The hurricane. You can be a G all day, you can be the general, but you can't fight the hurricane, because the second you figure it out, a supercane's going to step up, and then an asteroid's going to crash into everything, and then whoever's president's going to fuck all that up, and you win, and you're still going to be chasing the rabbit, at the end of the day. You should, this is clean. I was doing good when I was burning. Again, about 3 months, I might have been touching it here and there, getting the pipe of what I could scrag out and dry out on my stuff, or maybe get in a bag every once in a while. But about 3 months before I got nailed, I was in jail for 2 months, and it's been 2 or 3 months now. Same conversation. Recruiting, resumes, command directives, military, Joint Chief of Staff, dictionary of terms, here's the bank. I don't know which of those aircraft carrier doesn't apply here, but we're dealing with city, which is circuitry, which is the corn, which is, why Sun Tzu says you need to know these calculations contained in the bullets so I don't have to use any troops. You listen to me as a general. It's gravity. 85% of brain growth. That's the way it was there. I was going for my general tags. It's why I did in my backyard. I can't be, hiking gallons of water over there. It's just not efficient. I'll pick up something that's a little bit lighter but just as heavy, equal but opposite in direction. The net force in an internal system is either infinitely moving or at rest. Well, both of them, something at rest. We're talking about a marijuana garden, and a stone dock is still moving at those same speeds. It's still equal but opposite. It still has the aspect of when object 1 hit object 2, it's going to have a specific effect back on object one, when I start to apply that into those ideas. Why don't we use science, or why don't these assholes know physics is beyond me. Why aren't quantum physicists in charge of this game if you know these calculations that well? How come somebody hasn't started a goddamn revolution over all this? Well, because take my scenario, cop's gonna burn down the system. Now we gotta make new state senators. We're gonna pull UN out of the game. I'm taking Russia, China, fucking everything. $10 million in STEM and Millennium Problems, if not more. Maybe a couple of Nobel Peace Prizes to go with it to boot. I got this $1,200 computer. Well, you're one person. You don't have this army set up. You got to reevaluate your priorities, and I'm just going to wind up eating that on the chin because I can still win as a general by saying that's character. I'll survive it. I could have represented myself, but at the end of the day, what good will it do me if the answer is still you're being held in contempt of court, even though I'm constitutionally obligated and have the ability to use any aspect over law, knowing Washington, D.C. is using it and growing it for recreational purposes. Well, what the fuck, New York? Or some aspect of, again, I'm documenting all my things. How can you tell the difference of whether Carpenter is truly not evading some level of tax evasion of some sort against the tax of a system that is based on a weighed and fully documented system based on faith in the economy of a system? All day. I'm a machine, man. I'm going for it. It's hard, you think, well, I need a laborer. Well, you get it. I've run 5 miles, hauling water. I was pulling boulders out of my garden to grow. I can't grow fucking weed and corn, anything with a V8 Chevy engine in my garden. You got to dig that motherfucker out and haul it out with a bar and get pulleys and levers and do whatever. It's one of those things for me. I just generally, it's better to make $1 on top of the labor that as $8, because think about it like a pulley. Once I'm smart enough to make that pulley in a system, it's done. I did it once. Now that, if you start going, well, managers make more because they're smarter and less labor, kind of a scenario. When it's all general labor without somebody cranking the shovel, nobody gets paid. Regardless of the job. That's why bosses have to sometimes step up, step down, positive or negative. It's a manager speech, a safety standard. Why you're counting the calculations to make sure you know all the digits, and keep them all. A lot of those grinders that I've been working and have experience in, and things like that. At one point in time, I'm sure I'll have to talk about the same level of looking at New York State and an OSHA standard about getting my 25 grand to get an application for a license. I could grow this shit for damn near free. I sell it to a couple of my buddies over the course of an entire year because I don't sell them more than an ounce, because that's basically the law. Basically, if they got busted, they know it's coming from me and they have more of an ounce on them at once. Don't be doing that with my shit. Go fuck somewhere else during that week. Well, not even an ounce, quarter ounce, excuse me. Nobody should be getting tagged, and that's a week. That's kind of my standard on it. Smoke a blunt a day at the gram in it, that's 7 grams. That's a week. It's my number. Helps me during the day, deal with some of the crazy, and as much my dream cycle at night and things like that. And again, my strain. I'm not buying something off the illegal market. The system will help take out that illegal market, make small business platforms. It's one of those systems you could do on top of working in the stone dock if you manage your time correctly, with some serious grade. If you don't have to hide it on top of the mountain 6 miles away, you can do a lot with it. I call the cops on some motherfucker that steals that shit on me instead of me getting tagged. I'll just give you my documentation. This was the grow. These are all the plants. This is what they weigh out. I'll mark them and cut them as I'm growing or when I go to harvest them. It's the same way as doing a checklist or getting the micron out on a board to make sure your CNC is working right, or, measuring out a stone cut to make sure that it's still holding at this and there is no tip or, whatever going on. XYZ, gravity, fucking, without a better word for it right at the moment. That rabbit better fucking run, I'm telling you, man, because you got any wily mud gremlins or anything on the property, I'm taking them down.